Hello everyone and welcome to Shifting Gears. It's great to be back. I'm your host Clutch, and tonight we're going to be going over Guild Wars 2, the MMO that has been released for a couple of weeks now and has had so many people play they actually stopped the sale of the digital copies, but now they have re-released or re-enabled the ability to buy the digital copies and also released a new trailer to the game. So tonight we're going to have an overview of the state of the MMOs in general. We're going to talk about the PvE experience of Guild Wars 2, the crafting system, the trade system, and the story. Now, since this game is so immense, I took it upon myself to make a decision, and that decision is next week we're going to cover PvP and the competitive scene and the potential for esports for Guild Wars 2. Tonight, it's just going to be mostly the game mechanics and the PvE experience, but when I do take your phone calls, if you have anything to add or any questions about PvP, we can discuss it on tonight's episode. Or if you want to wait till next week, that's fine as well. I'll definitely take your calls then. So first off, let's take a step back and look at the state of MMOs. We have seen the great successful behemoth World of Warcraft defend the throne and title of the most successful MMO to date. Many games developed by countries around the world have challenged that claim. Two come to mind: Rift and Star Wars: The Old Republic. Guild Wars, the first game, offered itself as an alternative to World of Warcraft, primarily the omittance of a monthly subscription of $15. I played a mage/mesmer class. The most I remember from the game is a mustache commander telling me orders via revealed map system. So didn't remember much. It was fun to play, but didn't get into it as much as I wanted to. Years later, the sequel is released. Guild Wars 2 had a long beta test, weekends and blitz campaign style stress tests. So now that it's released, how is it? And tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about, though, is going to be the PvE system. And what better way to show off the PvE than to show you live what it's like. I made this video today to show you what PvE is and what it's like as a level 80 Necromancer. Enjoy. Hello everyone, this is a Guild Wars 2 PvE video showing off what it's like to be a level 80 Necromancer in one of the ending areas of the game, and also to show off one of the ending missions to the main storyline. I am a level 80 Necromancer, going to show off the different abilities you can have as a Necromancer, and also a great armor set I'm currently wearing. Now, the enemies really like to fight you in the ending area, and so I currently have equipped a two-handed staff doing damage as much as possible with the different abilities that you have. In Guild Wars 2, what matters ability-wise is the type of weapon you have equipped, at least for the first 5 abilities you can use. Now, the other 5 abilities, you can pick and choose from your different skill points. Now, in this fight right now, I'm taking on 2 enemies. It's not going to be hard at all. I go into Death Shroud, which is that black, kind of smoky-looking form. I have even more abilities to use that way to do serious AoE damage, fear, also launch myself to an enemy, and do some damage as well. Using that green bar, as you can see above those 5 abilities on the left side of my health pool, that is my life force, and that is what powers Death Shroud. Now here's my inventory. It's as you can see, the UI is pretty clean, pretty simplistic. It's the information you need to know in a tight, packed corner. On the top right is the information about events that are around you or the mission that you're on. Now we're going to do this single player mission, or the main mission, as I like to say. You don't have to play it single player, you can invite your friends. And skipping ahead here, I'm going to go talk to the scout. Scouts are important because they reveal different areas of the map and where they need your help. Let's listen in.
Packed troops and supplies are able to travel unhindered through Malkor's Leap in that direction. We've identified 4 locations vital to keeping our lines open. Our objective: to keep these bases under pact control.
So on the map, this guy has told you what's going on and where you need to be to get some serious XP, gold, and of course to help the NPCs in the storyline. Now this guy repairs your armor, which is also very important. And what I like to do as well is to sell my junk and also sell immediately on the Black Lion Trading Company trading post, which is super fantastic and streamlined. I can sell any materials I don't need. Now I chose to be a cook and a tailor, and because of that, I don't need wood, I don't need crystals, I don't need a lot of things that I do pick up either harvesting or from drops. Now, another great thing about this game is the harvesting is very simple and anyone can harvest anything. As you can see, there's a sickle, an axe, and a mining pick on the bottom right-hand corner of your inventory. You just have those equipped and you can mine anything. It's a big tip to a lot of people playing this game or starting out in this game. Have all three and you can mine whatever you want. You get XP for mining, you get the materials, and you can also get attacked, which is why all these enemies are coming towards me. Now, being level 80 doesn't mean you're super powerful and can obliterate everything, especially in these ending areas. And as we're going to see in this fight, I kind of bite off a little more than I can chew. But being a necromancer and really taking that journey up to level 80, you get to know your character, you get to know your different moves, and how to stay alive. Also in Guild Wars 2 is the dodge mechanic. This mechanic is fantastic. You don't have stats. You don't have stats for dodge. You physically have to move out of the way for a lot of these abilities. You have endurance, which is that yellow bar above your health that allows you to use 2 evasive maneuvers back to... I realize I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. So, going into Death Shroud mode allows me to stay alive a little bit longer here and also to take damage straight to my life force. But I'm getting knocked around by these farmers. Not good. I use one of my kind of ultimate abilities, which is a level, will cost 30 skill points to unlock. The Plague Form, try to do a lot of damage, but it's just not enough, and I am getting annihilated. That bull hits me super hard. Now, this is the fight to survival mode. This allows you to try to come back by destroying one of the enemies around you that's low on health. I take out the spider hatchling, and I move. I try to heal. I heal. I'm able to move back, but these farmers are chasing me and they do so much damage in those stuns and they just keep chain stunning me. It's super annoying. I move back, get hit again, try to launch some more AoEs on the ground, but it looks like I am not going to make it once again. I have to fight to survive, but there's not a lot of enemies around me that are low. I try and I die, which is unfortunate. But you can res at any close waypoint. I decided to go to the closest one, and I continue on. But before I leave, I make sure I repair my armor, because it can get really costly really fast the more you have to repair. I mean, it's costly enough, which is a little bit of a complaint a lot of people are having in Guild Wars 2. So, moving on, I get to where I need to be for the mission, and let's listen into what I have to do.
The goal is to stop Zhaitan's reinforcements. Our target is a Cathedral of Eternal Radiance on Or's north coast. It's essentially a factory that manufactures Zhaitan's horde. I intend to shut it down, and I'm sending in a strike team to do just that. We don't know exactly how it functions, so I'm joining the team to make sure we have whatever rituals are required to get the job done. We'll pick up reinforcements on the way. Commander, you'll lead the strike team and protect me while I perform the rituals. Any questions?
None, Marshal. It's long past time we forced Zhaitan to fight its own battles instead of hiding behind minions. Ready when you are.
Alright, so he broke it down for me, what we have to do. Now, you go into the mission, and you start to realize, guys, in Guild Wars 2, the NPCs actually do damage. Your allies actually help you. They're actually good in a fight, and it's good to keep them alive and kind of work together, either focus on the same enemy they're trying to kill, or fear other enemies. And also, when they go down, you can res them. So if they do die, it's not the end of the mission, which is refreshing. And you continue on with the NPCs and the different missions that you do. In this mission, we have to move to these different places where we're watching an old style or of the past ritual that they did. This is one of the temples of the gods. There is a pantheon in this game. It's not explored very much. It's more of kind of a cultural underlay between all the different characters, which I was a little bit disappointed with. It's still cool to visit the different temples and see kind of more of the history of Orr. But this little segment right here is kind of difficult for us to participate in because it's where the NPCs are super slow, and so you have to just like wait for them to get to where you need to go. You know, you're, come on NPC, you can run at least. I'm the fastest person alive, it feels, on this map in this game. So you can make a kind of a little game out of it, like a little song. You're scratching a record. Right, chicka, run faster. Run faster. So you get past that part, and you continue to kill more NPCs. Now you see a little gold band around that NPC that I had highlighted. That signifies more of a boss type NPC. And they're usually not too tough, but speeding through here to defeat all the NPCs of this one area, and you do the ritual. The guy talks a little bit, and you go to another area and defeat some more boss-like monsters, and you run all the way across the other side of the map, and then you defeat some even more monsters. You take them down. Then you realize, oh, we aggroed 2 of them, and you got to take down both of them. You're dodging back and forth and moving around and trying to use all your abilities, and you realize, I'm not going to make it, and you're so close, but you die. So you respawn, you go back. This doesn't reset the mission, which is great, so you just move back to where your allies were, you res them, you destroy whatever kind of patrol was there, you destroy these NPCs and take out whatever you need to so the ritual can start. This NPC takes a long time to defeat, but she goes down. You see a little gold bound around her. That means that she is a boss-like monster. You go back to the center of the map, destroy all these things in the middle. He does another ritual. You wait. The NPC takes off. You follow. You go down. You realize, hey, we got to go where this green arrow is pointing to us in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. You go into that area, defeat more NPCs. Or just more and more and more monsters right in front of you. You have to take them down. You can't avoid them. And after you're able to take down a bunch of spiders and you res your allies and you defeat even more stuff, a little cutscene's gonna play and show you, hey, you gotta defeat this boss. You take down the boss, he's super tough, he takes a lot of hits, but finally he goes down, and then you get a debriefing, and then you get what we've been waiting for. It's loot. The kind of you get here, you get to choose, and I choose this dagger, which is a little nifty here because it actually pops up what you have equipped and what is better, if it is better. And this dagger is better than the dagger that I have. So I decide, hey, I'm going to take the dagger, hit accept, get some XP, kabooyah, and then you can actually open your hero inventory with just by pressing H, and it shows what you have equipped and what you can equip in another window there, which is great. Kind of instantaneously seeing what you need to have. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what PvE is like in Guild Wars 2. Anyways, you can go see the video on youtube.com. I've already posted it. It's a pretty neat video to go over what happens in PvE, and a lot of what I break down is from the viewpoint of the Necromancer. And the Necromancer is a class that I was kind of leery about because it was a style that I wasn't really used to, but I decided that I really wanted to check it out, and I wanted to play that type of character, a type of debuff character that I hadn't played in MMOs before. I usually played DPS, and then I recently switched to more of a healer role because healers are way more in demand compared to DPS. Anyways, I really enjoyed the Necromancer. It was a lot of fun. And so there will be, the link's up on YouTube right now, but I'll put a link in the chat. I have no idea why it's not playing through there. There we go. Anyways, moving on here. The fighting mechanics of Guild Wars 2 feel fluid, but only after the hotkeys are actually locked down. And this is what I used for the hotkeys. The first one, I left 1 through 5 the same. I left it as they are. I didn't change anything there. But for my healing ability, I made that Q. And in the game, they have that as your strafe function, but since I was already used to just having the right-click mouse button down, decided to use Q and then E as kind of my two defensive spells. Q is the heal, and E is the armor that I have, spectral armor, which reduces incoming damage by 33%, and also increases my life force, which is used as a necromancer to enter into Death Shroud mode. So moving on here, this is the button I use in PvP. This is more of putting conditions from me onto my opponent. In PvE, this is the ability I use to kind of absorb a little bit of health from enemies around me. It doesn't absorb too much. The signets have a passive and an active, and the passive allows me to run faster. The active is when I absorb health from other people. C, I use this to summon a pet. And my next hotkey is the mouse 4 button, which on my mouse I have a couple little arrows where my thumb is. Now this is one of the buttons I use when I want to enter Death Shroud mode. And for my ultimate, I like to call, summoning these dogs, I use my other mouse button. Really comes in handy here. And for me, that's what I used for the hotkeys. I felt that it made the ability to use those abilities way faster than having to click down on the mouse every time. And you want to pick a configuration that's best for you. That worked for me. I kept it, so you can experiment and see what you want to use on your keyboard or your mouse. But I really enjoy the hotkeys that I have. And there's a certain pattern you get into when you play here. The level quest system is different compared to other MMOs. And you find events and hearts, which are quests, more or less, of people in the area. When you reach those places, there is some sort of task you have to complete, either gathering a couple things, which are really simple to gather. You don't have to kill enemies and wait for drops. They're just physically there around the place. Or you can go to, or you kill stuff for them. And there's a couple other like events, intrigue events, just conversation choices you can make, which is fun to do. It split up or kind of gave you a change of pace of your leveling questing system. And also there were events, and these events would spawn or repeat themselves once every couple minutes, or there was this chain of events where you'd complete an event and you'd stay there and defend what you just did and then move to another area. So it worked and it flowed well. There were a couple times where you had to repeat those events a number of times, and then you would feel lost a couple times when you were at a certain level, like you were, like for instance, level 55, you're level 53 in a 55 area, and you just completed all the hearts. So you're thinking, what do I do? Do I stay here and repeat quests? Do I have to try to find events here? Do I go to the next area? And actually, in those scenarios, I would actually go back and craft the 2 levels because you get XP for crafting. So the use of the crafting, harvesting tools are very important in this game. And a big tip in terms of leveling is buy those crafting items right off the bat, as soon as you can get them. The sickle, the axe, and the pickaxe, you can harvest vegetables, you can harvest wood, and you can harvest ore. And when you have the ability to harvest everything, you get more XP because you get XP for harvesting, and you can sell it quickly on the trading post, which we'll talk about later. But let's move into crafting. Now, crafting can be simple at first, but it moves into some difficulty, mostly on your funds. It costs a lot of money, especially in cooking, for you to have the type of materials you need and to buy any sort of karma-based materials, and that can get very expensive as well in the karma. It's not too bad as long as you adjust properly and plan out what you want to make, but it's great. Cooking primarily provides buffs. For XP is mostly what I used it. The XP it's like plus 10 to every kill for the enemy, so it's still worthy to have. And the other profession that I chose was tailoring. Tailoring was difficult because it was really hard to find jute. I was trying to figure out the system when I first was playing the game, and jute would only drop off of centaurs and bandits or pirates sometimes. And when you're moving through the different events at a low level, you're like, oh, this is cool, I'm really starting to understand the game. You're not really thinking too much about crafting yet. But once you get to a point of, hey, I should start crafting, you realize I only have 6 jute, or scraps of jute, and I need 6 to make 3 bolts of jute, and I need like 15 bolts of jute to make a full tailor armor set. There's not a lot that you have. And the auction house didn't work at the time. The trading post didn't work at the time. So it was a little annoying trying to figure out what to do with the jute. But once the trading post came online, or wasn't down for maintenance anymore, jute was one of the most expensive items on there. And it's still, I think, the priciest material for tailoring, even though it's the lowest tier level. Now, after a couple days, I'm sure with the economy, it'll start to even out. But it was really funny to see that there was a lot of jute for sale at a higher price than the rest of the materials in the game. Now, the armor sets are really cool to see. As we can see in this graphic here, I look like I'm going to a masquerade ball. Now, this is one of the highest armor tier sets you can make. This is actually a silk, silk carrion insignia type armor. Now, the insignias are important to remember because they actually cost karma to get the insignias, and once you buy the recipe, you're able to make that specific type of the insignias. And the patterns to craft are not too tough to understand. Once you start getting into this pattern of, okay, you understand how to make all the jute armor for your character, then once you move into cotton, it's the exact same thing. You have the same pieces, they're just all made out of cotton, and you use the discovery system to find new recipes, which is pretty much, hey, here's a little insignia, combine it with the elements that make a headpiece, and you can make this sort of headpiece. So it's really, really simple compared to cooking. Cooking is very difficult because you can use all sorts of different ingredients, and you get a lot of different things you can make, and from the things that you make, you can combine it with other ingredients and make something else or add to it. So cooking is a lot of discovery, and there's a lot of things I haven't discovered at my level, which is around 325 for cooking, that I need to discover because the only thing I can make is raspberry cookies. So tailoring is really cool. It's definitely worth it to have, to research as a light or cloth wearing class or profession, as they call in Guild Wars 2. The drawbacks of tailoring, I wouldn't say there really is any. When you craft, you level up. It's pretty cool with the XP that you get. There is a big issue for necromancers right now, and the stats are not ideal. You can't build any ideal armor sets for necromancers, especially ones that want to have condition damage, which is the debuff style. The conditions are like bleeds and blinds and things that inhibit an NPC or another player character. So precision, which adds to your critical strike, I think either damage or chance. Toughness, which, toughness, and then condition damage. I have heard and seen on the forums those are the best kinds of stats to have on your armor, but you can't physically build that. None of the insignias, none of the little pieces that you make that have the stats are actually there. So we're going to see what Arena does with the different stats for tailors. I don't know if that same problem has happened for other professions, other classes, and armor smithing or weaponsmithing. I'm not sure, but just as a tailor and a necromancer, I've seen other people complaining on the forums about that. Now let's talk about the trade system. Now this system is a pretty amazing system. The instant sale from your inventory for materials, listing prices for other items. Okay, so breaking this down, if I harvest some wood and I'm not a huntsman or a weaponsmith, I don't need it for anything, I can simply right click it in my inventory and sell it straight on the trading post. Now, I don't get the money straight to me. I actually have to physically go to the trading post to pick it up or to pick up any items I purchase. But still, it is such a I don't want to say treat, but it just really streamlines kind of like the chores that were in MMOs before of, hey, my inventory's full, I gotta go back to the bank and take up more time. Also, you have a collection HUD or grid in your inventory that actually doesn't take up your inventory or any of your backpacks, and you can click this little gear on your inventory box, and it says deposit all collectibles. And collectibles refer to materials that you use for crafting. So if I harvest a bunch of cherries, a bunch of wood, a bunch of ore, and a bunch of jute cloth or silk or whatever, I can hit that button and it sends it all to my bank, the collectible side of my bank. So that actually doesn't take up any of my bank space for my bank. It's really cool. It's really cool, and it really gets rid of a lot of the penalizing aspect of having a closed off banking system, banking grid, banking inventory. We have to continuously buy bags, and it just gets to be a hassle, right? You have to put stuff in the guild bank. Anyways, the collectible system is fantastic, and I feel that it's a piece from MMOs that people found very irritating, that ArenaNet found a solution to, that doesn't, in my opinion, dumb it down, but it just streamlines it. It gets rid of the unnecessary chores. Okay. The only thing I could add to the trading system is I think there needs to be a tutorial or something for some people to understand what gems are for, or the gold exchange. I feel that it's really kind of a little bit daunting at first to understand what is everything that I can do here. I get it, though. I mean, I understand what everything does now, but at first you open it up and you see, hey, you can buy aviator sunglasses and all of these cosmetic things. I'm thinking, wow, this is cool. Oh, this costs real money, unless you want to invest a lot of in-game gold in it. So it's a lot to kind of comprehend at first, but once you do, it's not too hard to understand. And it is a lot of fun to play Necromancer, and going on the journey up to level 80 and knowing what your character can do is really important to me in my experience, because it allows me to kind of experiment with what I can do in PvE and apply that to PvP on a first-hand basis. I'm not reading it from a guide. I'm physically playing it. I'm physically understanding my character, and I can know kind of the ins and outs more of what the different abilities do compared to just reading text on the internet. But PvP is such a behemoth in this game. There's so much to do PvP-wise that you can buy this game and not do anything PvE and still enjoy it because you'll be playing PvP. You can make it up to level 80 just by PvPing. I mean, they've allowed that system because you get XP for the world versus world versus world. All right, so let's move on into story. This is the weakest part of the game, in my opinion. What is refreshing about the story is that the factions of races aren't at war or have drawn a line in the sand, as we've seen in other games, where it's this faction versus this faction, and you have to choose, and you can't interact with the other factions. There are some stereotypes or a cultural reservance between races, such as the Char and the humans because of their history and war in the past, but now they have a peace treaty. The pantheons, which is the gods that you get to choose from of who you worship or believe you are blessed by, sounds really cool at the beginning of the game. But they're more of a cultural and conversational undertone than any actual presence of a deity. The choices are okay within the different missions. You know, they allow you to choose different paths or strategies, but the cool thing about that is it's cool to see the effect of those choices continue through the rest of the story. For example, I chose to help the Hylic people, which are the frog people, and they continue to support me throughout the rest of the story later on when we need them, which is great. And it's cool to see them because I thought that was one of the best stories or elements of the story that I had, helping the Hylic people. The writing for Guild Wars 2 is abysmal. It reminds me of the Star Wars prequels. That's how bad it is. The elevated fantasy style at the beginning is okay at first, with cardboard cutout characters and predictable plots. There are a few shining moments, like the sense of loss from the Hylic, the friendship with Tybalt, and the leadership of Trahearne. But these are tiny glimmers of real character depth in a sky filled with blasé clouds of ink. If you're going to create a world and have voice actors, do so that make the characters memorable. They have good voice actors here. They put the size into the giants and into the smaller people, the Asura. You know, they feel different physically, acting-wise, but the dialogue, the power, the emotions is not there, and it's down to the script. It's down to the script. There are only two type of threats in this game. The first is from level 1 to 40, and it's your race's enemy. So for the humans, it's the continual enemy of the centaurs. Now, the only backstory that's revealed, or that I read on the official wiki, was that the humans settled in the Centaur lands, and they have been pissed ever since. From level 40 to 80, you fight zombies. I mean undead. I mean the Risen. A big, bad dragon is using his enemies' bodies to build up his army. It's smart. But for what? Why does this dragon want to destroy Tyria? Just 'cause? F the police? Where are the gods? None of this is revealed in the narrative of the game's story. And the strength of the story should lie in the main exposition, not in supplemental books or comics. I am on my last mission, and the only memorable gem of the story has been a spy's use of apples. That's it. ArenaNet, you have created a wonderful game. It is fantastic to play, and you are on the flip-sided coin of marketing and writing. Some games have incredible writing, incredible marketing campaigns, amazing trailers, but the gameplay is not so hot, doesn't stick. Call of Duty franchise, for example. Now, you have had a weird kind of marketing campaign. Your trailer that came out recently for the release of the digital copies, once again, didn't work, on my opinion. It was on a level of high school awkwardness of these kids trying to find themselves and then becoming what they want to be in this game, and it didn't translate very well at all. I got a sense of what you're trying to do, but it just didn't work. And the rest of the marketing and ads, I don't watch TV, so I haven't seen any TV ads, but this has been huge. This game has been talked about for a long time by a lot of different people, and primarily because of a lot of things they are doing differently. And so, there is a lot more to this game that I have yet to explore. I don't even know if I'm going to have time to get it all. There are people that have actually gotten all 100% on the maps, which I find to be astounding. But after hitting 80 and maybe trying to get this last mission done, my primary focus is going to be PvP, the competitive side. And hopefully, to get the spectator client, cast some matches, and see what this can produce as far as an esport. So what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to take your phone calls. You can Skype me at JGClutch. And it's a pleasure to be playing Guild Wars 2 right now, to talk about it with everybody. And we'll see you in a couple minutes. Back to Shifting Gears. I'm going to start taking your calls here to discuss your experiences about Guild Wars 2. So go ahead and call in here. Took one, but he called in when we were taking a commercial. I'm trying to get him back. Anyway, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I had to restart XSplit, but now we're good to go. Aaron, can you re-ask your question, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my question was kind of continuing on the subject of the story, and while you said it's kind of abysmal, and in some ways I agree, it's really bland and so forth. But I'm wondering if you've played an MMO of such, vast amounts of content that has a good, solid story that has kept you interested, it felt believable, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, Star Wars: The Old Republic, to me, was the best game of 2011 because of that. It felt less of an MMO throughout the whole journey of 1 to whatever the level cap was, I forgot. And the story, I found so many elements where I had imagined these scenarios in my mind about the Sith and the Jedi, and they actually unfolded. In particular, I played a Sith, but I was light side. I was a light side Sith. I did good things. And I was explaining to one of the companions that I had in the game that the Sith aren't necessarily evil. We just don't follow this Jedi code, this code that's bureaucratic and dumb and you can't love and all these things. I was like, this guy knows! Like, these writers know what needs to be explored in the Star Wars universe that people haven't gotten to before. It was original, but still in a universe that we have grown accustomed to, that we've grown up with, that our kind of generation. So, I found that to be amazing storytelling in that game. Now, as far as the MMO aspects, there wasn't much endgame content. That's kind of why it failed. But the journey itself, I would recommend to anybody to go through it and to enjoy it for themselves. My buddy Wigan played as a Imperial agent, and he said the story was phenomenal as well. And you can make serious choices in the story that would affect the outcome. So as far as storytelling-wise, BioWare did it right. Just unfortunate they didn't have the MMO components that was necessary for people to stay with the game.
Yeah, I hear you. I played that game till level 30-ish or something, and it just wasn't for me anymore. But in the beta, I played a Sith. You had your guys that were ragging your ass all about, you suck and you're weak and all that, believable Sith characters, and you just wanted to pound them in the face, sitting in your chair. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. All right, I guess that's all I have. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, Aaron, thanks for calling in.
No problem. All right, bye.
All right, appreciate his call. Let's see, contact request, sure. Feel free to call in, guys. You don't technically have to add me on Skype. You can just hit call and then type in JG Clutch, but that's just fine. Take another call here. This is from 2 Inches. Hello, you're on Shifting Gears.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, man?
I definitely agree with the story. I feel it's pretty weak in comparison to other games. One of the things that I found, the best for me was the terrain, just the environments themselves. Like the vistas, the jump. Have you done a lot of the jumping puzzles in the game?
Yes, I've unlocked a lot of areas on the map for the different vistas. I really enjoy just taking a couple seconds to enjoy the scenery, really. But what race did you play, 2 Inches?
Human.
Okay. Did you find that the terrain was pretty much the same from level 1 to 75?
Not really, but
okay.
I think I played the game very differently than you, I guess. Because when I finished the level 1 zone as human, I immediately went to the level 1 zone of the Norn and then the Char.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm 68% done the map.
Wow.
So I would finish an area and then go directly to the next area of the other faction of that level.
I've explored some of the areas because there was one time I had to go to the other end of the world for a mission, and I was like, "Wow, I haven't even been to any of these places." And another grievance I have of the game is that the terrain all looks the same for 1 to about 70, 75 as a human. It's all just grassy, nice water, same vegetation everywhere. Just all look the same to me, just in different elevations. It wasn't until you got to the island of Ore, which it's all crazy and ruins and this oily type colors around the water and stuff. And it's like, man, this actually looks like a different area compared to level 1 through 75. But when I actually went to that other area for that mission, there's, it was a snowy, mountainous area, there's places I hadn't seen before. I was like, wow, this is a whole world I haven't seen that I didn't see any of it leveling up. And a lot of people, I don't know how many people are actually going to unlock all the whole map. A lot of people just want to hit 80 and they want to hit the PvE gear, but that just depends on everybody's lifestyle or play style. I felt there could have been a little bit more variety in the terrain.
I can see that. Like if you stay to one area, I guess it gets kind of bland.
But hey, they made such a big world. They said, that's your choice. You want to stay in one area? You want to stay in the tropics? That's fine, but you're not going to see the snowy mountains.
Yeah, and I mean, like the jumping puzzles to me, I spend almost any game, like MMO or not, I spend my time trying to just jump in places I'm not supposed to go.
Yeah.
And this game rewards you for that. Like there's chests at the end. Like some of them are actually pretty complicated, and like there's traps set that you can mess with other players doing them.
Yeah, I found a couple chests sometimes just by exploring. I found the reward was worth it, especially if you had somebody there to help you out to kill the mobs.
Yeah.
All right, man. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your experiences?
I don't know if I just played like way too much, but I felt I hit 80 too fast.
Okay.
And that might have been due to my crafting choices. I hit, like, cooking, I got, like, maybe 20 levels out of cooking alone.
Wow. Yeah, I probably got about 15 levels just from crafting. So, I mean, sporadically. Not just at once, but throughout the whole journey to 80.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe some of the... Like, you know how you have, like, the monthly quest rewards for, like, the achievements?
Mm-hmm.
Once you hit 80, those are pretty much just... They're given to you, like, you can almost get them in a day with the amount of stuff you get.
Wow. And how long have you been 80?
A couple days now, maybe like 3 or 4.
Okay, I hit 80 yesterday. Yeah, it was a fun journey. To me, it took a little while towards the end because there wasn't any hearts in the level 70 to 80 area. It was just events, but that was okay. And also, I was trying to check out some of the dungeons with some guildies, and that took a little while to check out. But,
yeah, I just started doing dungeons today. Like today, I did my first dungeon run.
Yeah. I think that explores a little more of the story from the first half of the game, at least with Codicus. I mean, I did that mansion story, and Queen Jenna turned out to be a little bit of a witch.
Do the dungeons feel like kind of weird to you since there aren't really like roles to play?
Yeah, there's no rules unless you have somebody that can just absorb damage, and the bosses' fights feel weird. Like the dungeons don't feel like they were well scripted. Like they knew what they were doing per boss fight and how to overcome it. It was just like a cluster F, man. Just go in there and kill stuff, and you get loot, and that's it.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a tank and spank. Yeah. And most of the bosses, from what I've seen, I mean, I've only done 2 dungeons, but Melee is kind of screwed.
Yeah, I found that there's a lot of bosses or scenarios where you've had to have had ranged to survive or to do damage, because if you went into right where the boss was, you just got picked off by people up in the rafters with rifles. It just felt odd. It didn't. Now, I don't mind a challenge. That's fine. If it's challenging, we have to figure it out. That's fine. But there have been instances where we've agreed as the party, like, this is just dumb. This is stupid.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when the loot doesn't even drop off the bosses, off the chests, and trying to understand what the loot system is right now. There's a lot that we can file under we don't know yet because people haven't experienced it. And that's fine. But there's still that, hey guys, this can definitely be a lot better. Especially with the dungeons. So.
Yep. I agree.
All right, man. Well, thanks for calling in.
Yep, no problem.
All right, take care. All right. Take another call here. Hello, David. You're on Shifting Gears.
Hey, Clutch. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing well.
I have a couple things to talk about. First, I want to make sort of a broad comment about, why I think Guild Wars 2 is a little bit different as an MMO than the other MMOs that are out in the market right now.
Feel free, man.
So, I think everybody has talked a little bit about, all the particulars, dynamic events, about the crafting system, about how everything rewards you a little bit in the game. But I think ultimately what it gets at is that most MMOs that are out in the market right now, they do something very particular in that from level 1 to whatever the max level is the game feels like it's sort of a marathon, right? Like you're running a whole marathon, and it's kind of almost a single-player game, except for the very particular aspects where you go into dungeons and you do 5 mans or 10 mans or what have you. And then when you get to the end game, it's actually a different game. So it's like you run a marathon and then you get to the end game and then you play soccer with a whole bunch of people. Whereas Guild Wars 2 does something very different. It says right from the beginning, it says, oh, well, you're going to be playing soccer at the end anyway, so why don't you just play Ultimate Frisbee until you get there?
Yeah, I see the analogy. That totally works. Because when I was in areas, I didn't have to group up with anybody. We would just kill stuff. We'd both get loot. We'd both get experience. It was nice. Streamlined it a lot.
And that's why it feels so good, because from level 1 to the max level, you're actually going to be playing the same game that you play at the end game. And a lot of people have commented on this and said, the whole game is actually the end game. So once you hit level 80, why not go back to the starter area and down level to level 5 or level 6? Yeah, it'll still be somewhat of a challenge, even though you have better gear and whatnot, and you'll face roll it just a little bit, but still, you can't just go pull 100 enemies and just AoE them all down, like you can in some other games. So yeah, I felt like that's the reason why the Guild Wars 2 formula worked and why it's fun for people, ultimately, at its core. But really what I wanted to go on and talk about was sort of the potential for esports in Guild Wars 2. So full disclosure, I actually do a show about Guild Wars 2 myself. And I've been talking with a number of the teams that are already growing, that have been practicing in Guild Wars 2 even since some of the BW1 events, and that are growing, like Team Paradigm, for example, is sort of a well-known name at this point in the game. So I guess my first question is, what do you think would be required to take Guild Wars 2 SPVP from where it is now to turning it into an esport?
Now, you define SPVP as the 5-man group, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
5-man tournament structure play.
The first thing that any game needs is a proper spectator client. There has to be an ability to tell a story to somebody that's watching. It has to be engaging enough for the spectator to comprehend and to root for somebody. With that in place, which ArenaNet is working on, then if you have casters, pool of casters, talent-wise, preferably 2 at a time, that knows the game or knows how to call, you have an analyst and a play-by-play, and they can tell the story of what's happening on screen, be excited about it, and do their job. The only thing missing from that is the audience. Because you have a game where you have different roles, you have different strategies, and they're talking about making the actual skills and abilities bigger, that you can see them bigger, to have kind of a little bit different of a format graphic-wise for the standard PvP or the structured PvP, to allow the spectator to see that. There are some, obstacles of the abilities are so fast-paced, it's hard to keep up on some things, but that's why you have the goals within the game, like the capture points or any kind of system that they have. Deathmatch is only fun for so long. It is fun. It's a lot of fun to watch. But stemming back to Star Wars: The Old Republic, I would stand up and say yes if somebody wanted to make Huttball an esport. Like, it was so much fun. There was an actual objective people could watch besides people killing each other. Of course, it wasn't perfectly balanced, but if you had some casters and a spectator mode in that would have been fun, especially for the community of the Old Republic. So stemming from that and kind of the hope of seeing what I wanted to see from Star Wars and seeing what Guild Wars 2 has, the first step really is going to be the spectator client. And then from there, we'll see how dedicated the teams are, how often they can practice, what kind of metagame there is, and we'll go from there. So the first step is that spectator client.
I totally agree with you on the spectator client, but I think it's even more than that. I think the spectator client, just having the spectator client is not enough. the main problem is because Guild Wars 2 is not an isometric game, so it's pretty difficult. If you've seen Halo or you've seen Call of Duty, it's very difficult for casters in those games to sort of take the role of like a floating camera or to take players' perspectives in the game and try to explain to the audience what's going on, because you can't show overlays of what's going on and strategically where people are placed on the map and how the team is working together to overtake certain objectives. So I think the spectator mode really needs to have something very particular in it, and that is the ability for the casters to see in sort of an isometric perspective what's going on the map, and not just to be sort of a floating camera around the battlefield.
Would you say more of a kind of a top-down view to see the different positions of the players, what's being captured, or whatever kind of goal system they have? Do you think that if it had more of that viewpoint, it would be easier to follow and easier to tell that story instead of like a third-person camera?
Absolutely, and okay. Maybe even need both. Actually, I was able to go to the Dota 2 finals and the League of Legends finals here in Seattle. And one thing that they've started doing is actually having a separate screen for the minimap to help tell that story of what's going on for the viewers in the venue. And so I think it's even more important for a 3D game that is a little bit more complicated graphics-wise than an isometric game, to have sort of maybe even a split-screen view where on one part of the screen you can see what's going on, what objectives are being captured, the positions of the team, who's moving to take certain points or who's moving to take certain strategic objectives, and then at the same time be able to tell the story of, okay, well, finally the burst DPS, he got to the point, he was able to burst down the engineer who was protecting that point, and now he's capturing it, and now the team has to scramble to try to take him out before he's able to get that point. So there's basically a number of tools that casters need in their toolbox for a 3D game that is a little bit more difficult, in my opinion, than doing something like Dota or something like StarCraft, where you have that isometric view.
A spectator client that I feel that we can look to as an example is what's being used for Natural Selection 2. The spectator client can go into top-down mode, or some people call StarCraft 2 mode, where you have that top-down viewpoint of what's happening, and then it can move down into a third-person or even first-person view of what is happening between the individual characters. Now, this was very impressive to see, especially with the use of the map, and it also had a telestrator, which allows you to write on the screen and show arrows, kind of like what John Madden would do for NFL, to show that directly on the screen of what is happening on the map and what's happening in the game. And the technology exists. We're there. We're there. And so as long as companies can have that built in a user-friendly way for casters or a game director to use, that's going to make telling the story way more easier. And that's half the battle, is telling the story. The other half is just having players good enough to make it a compelling one.
Absolutely. Actually, I want to correct something I said earlier. Maybe I was getting a little excited. The League of Legends finals at PAX is the one that had the separate screen for the minimap, and that was not at the Dota 2 International. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I'd love to see Guild Wars 2 develop into a mature esport and really sort of solve the problem of having esports in a 3D game and in an MMO at that. I think it could be something that's extremely popular and something that is a lot of fun to cast and a lot of fun to watch.
Yep, I think so too. The potential there is for a wide audience to view it, especially because so many people are playing this game, that kind of using the momentum of the release and pushing that into a tournament where there's money is very cool. And because this is not a subscription-based game, let's say I want to have a patch or something on my character in PvP that represents the team that won or something like that. There's so much potential that ArenaNet could do or could use for monetary gain and to help support esports in the space by having their audience be more involved in just cosmetic items, as we've seen in Dota 2, which has been phenomenal. But David, I appreciate your call. Is there anything else you'd like to add for your experience?
No, actually, the only thing I'd add is if you're interested in more Guild Wars 2 material, check out Dr. Zealot.
All right, check them out, guys. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you so much, Clutch.
All right, guys, we're still taking your calls. Feel free to call in. Apologize if I've missed you. I'm trying to get one more in here. Good thing Exploit's working. I know what the issue was, and I'm a little bit upset at myself that I didn't fix it before I started going live. But that's okay. You guys are here. We're having fun.
There we go.
Ken and Matic, welcome to Shifting Gears. Hello.
Hello. How's it going, man?
Good. You?
Pretty good. Pretty pumped. So I'll just go right straight. Just like David, Dr. Zealot in the chat, I too am involved in the community. I actually created the Guild Wars 2 esports subreddit.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah. And I'm consistently in the IRC, the Guild Wars 2 Ringer channel. I don't work, but I talk with a lot of the teams that are involved at the moment. And it's just a great way to get to know people, get in as like a fifth for people as well. So I'll just go right straight to the question, because I think this particular question is something that a lot of people have been discussing, but not many people really can articulate it, or people just argue back and forth in non sequiturs. So what is your position on some of the mechanics in PvP? Since what have you played so far?
I play Necromancer, and I typically stay with one class for an MMO because I like to experience as much of the game as possible with one character. A lot of people like to play a lot of different characters, and you're not penalized for that in PvP, which is fine. You can make a new character and go straight to PvP. My buddy Wigan does that with a lot of different characters. But going back to playing a Necromancer and the different mechanics and skills and whatnot in the game, Thieves do way too much damage right now. Frickin' Guardians do a lot of damage as well. There's so much burst damage that some of these classes can do that is so hard to come back from, and relies, I think, maybe a little bit too much on the dodge mechanic, having to dodge it. But I say that with a grain of salt, because with playing the game more and understanding the tactician element of it, of playing a Necromancer compared to other classes, there's different things I can do, different tools in my skills that I have to kind of prevent that stuff. So I obviously need to get better at that. But I think there is a popular opinion that Thieves do too much damage, and there is some balance issues that need to happen. But that's okay. That's okay, because we are in, the first 2 weeks of the release. I've also heard maybe that the PvP armor for... Well, no, it was more PvE stuff. So for PvP, I know that toughness is very important to have, I think, for any class. And so kind of configuring and looking at different builds and stuff, we're all trying to figure stuff out right now. There's a couple guides on there. I actually use a build from Team Paradigm. I think I modified it a bit. It might be the exact same thing. That works pretty good for me. It's definitely a condition-based build. And the other type of build I see for Necromancers is having just all of their minions, all of their pets summoned, which is kind of funny to see. So that's what I've seen the most. And as a Necromancer, that's what I know the most, and I have to go with what works for me. And what works for me now is just that condition damage and sometimes being a bunker. I hope that was a little bit of a long-winded answer, but that's what I see so far. Right. And I think the solution is just going to come with time. It's going to come with time, and it's going to come with the dedication of ArenaNet and people like us to work with them and tell them this is what we feel is imbalanced or doesn't work correctly, or it's not fitting the scene right now, and hopefully they can fix that.
Right. What are your thoughts on the down system? A lot of people have been really complaining about it, saying that it just needs to get gone from the whole TPvP/SPvP area. and not many people at all like it nearly as much as some of the people in PvE, because of course, like, you get that rally, and in PvP it's great when you get that rally because then you can help out your team. But a lot of people argue that if you get like 2v1 and they just leave you there like with a certain condition that you're just going to bleed out, you can't really out heal it, that they're just wasting your time. So,
well, the element of it reminds me a lot of Gears of War and the down system in that game. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with the down system. You can bait, you can use it. You can go in and try to heal somebody and use it as bait and take them out. You can be down, but then still use it to get somebody who's not focusing on you to get them down health-wise. So it adds another layer. Is it the most competitive layer? No, but it does add something to the game that's different than just a straight-up deathmatch. I don't know what the solution to that is. To me, I've just incorporated it as part of the game. Yes, it is annoying if I down somebody and I have two other people attacking me and I can't take them down. That's kind of the game mechanics that I'm used to. Maybe they could try a different game mode or a beta test of a different game mode where you have no downs and see how popular that becomes. And if it becomes more popular and it feels better in a competitive scene, then that's the route to take. But at this time, I'm not sure. Maybe they can do that. Maybe you can check a little list and play no down mode or something and try that out.
Okay.
Yeah. One more thing I want to say about that, though, is I find it really annoying that myself as a necromancer, I can't use my fear half the time because people are immune to it for some reason.
Yeah.
And I'm just like down. But then other people have an AoE like blast that can keep them alive. So I feel that it's not truly balanced or advantageous for all the different classes for their different down abilities.
Yeah. A real quick explanation as to that, why that happens, is that there's a particular ability that you use for pretty much every class that gives you stability, and when you use stability, you're immune to like stuns, fears, etc. I don't know exactly what stuff. So if you're fighting somebody that is trying to down you and they have stability on, your number 2 on any profession is pretty much like useless.
Yeah.
Which can be annoying, especially because the number 3 skill would also help out, but it takes so long to even get to that. That, you know, it's another utility. Some people get to Vengeance where they come back up and can kill somebody and then, you know, regain composure and keep playing, and stuff like that. So I don't know how they're going to do the downstate, and it's sort of, I guess I want to say irritating, but we'll see at the moment. But anyway, to segue from all of that into this thing. So since you're involved in the esports scene so much, I wanted to know, what particular community should the Guild Wars 2 esports community try to emulate? That's a really tough question, I know.
In terms of passion for the game, StarCraft 2. But since it's a team-like format, I would say the Dota 2 community or the League of Legends community. I say Dota 2 first, because when you have a game that you have to pay for, that automatically creates this level compared to games that are free. Not to diss League of Legends at all, but to me there just seems this entry level that's a little bit higher for somebody that has the money to pay for a game. So with that, with Dota 2 not even released yet and League of Legends being free, I would say either one of those communities you could emulate, but I feel that ArenaNet should follow the structure of what Valve's doing for Dota 2 and really look at what talent they need, what they can do within their company to create a great spectator-friendly esport for Guild Wars 2 and to hire the necessary talent outside of their company to make it happen. I'd love to cast it. I would love to cast Guild Wars 2. I've casted Gears of War 3 before, and that's a 4v4 type map deathmatch with a down system. So I'm used to, you know, kind of reses and downs and stuff like that. I mean, it's a first-person shooter or third-person shooter, but there's some elements that translate over. So moving into that, the thing that we can do on our end as fans or spectators is to continuously harass ArenaNet and say, we want this to happen. And those teams, Team Paradigm, the other teams, let's get a night, Saturday night, 9 o'clock, match going, get them streaming. Some way we can commentate on it and tell them what's happening, interview the players all online, and build an audience for it. And that's how it's going to happen if ArenaNet's not going to, support it 100%, or they need to see if an audience is going to be there for them. I'll help organize that if we need to. Get me in contact with the teams. We'll do it.
That would actually be awesome. Like, unbelievably awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave you. So that way, I know other people want to talk as well, so I'm not going to try and chat your ear off. I do, though, want to extend invitation to the Guild Wars 2 Ringer channel. A lot of people in the teams, Team Legacy, a few other known, well, not no names, but not nearly as known as Team Paradigm are in there as well, and they love to chit-chat. Additionally, try and hop by Guild Wars 2 Esports if you could as well. And I'm going to go ahead and tweet you something, and we'll see how you like it or whatever.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you next week. How about that?
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
All right, guys. Still got to take a couple more calls here before we get a sign off for the night. But good questions about PvP. I know, like I said before in this episode, that we're going to cover PvP next week, but feel free to call in tonight if you have questions about it, or you can call in next week as well. But since this game is so immense, that we're going to cover all PvP next week. See if I missed any calls here. We're going to get another one in.
Hey, Josh.
Here.
Thanks.
Johnny, how you doing?
Good, man. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, likewise, dude. So you've been playing some Guild Wars 2?
Yes, I have. And just to segue from the actual in-game stuff for a second, I can tell you that it has been selling like crazy in stores, man. Everywhere in my district, it is out of stock. And I get at least 2 or 3 calls a day asking, you guys got Guild Wars? And I'm like, no, I don't know when we're going to get it. Tell them, like, have you tried online? And apparently you can't even buy it online now. Is that true?
You couldn't for a while, but now you can. And I believe the reasoning to this was because so many people were playing it that they decided not to let anyone else buy any digital copies, but to actually go to the stores and buy physical copies. And then once all the physical copies were out, they decided, okay, now we can open up digital copies again. This allowed the people that are already in the game, that paid their money and everything, to have a more stable server system. Instead of, whatever could happen if you add a couple more 100,000 of people playing a game. So that's my opinion. I don't know the exact reason, but I feel that's why.
It makes sense, but we sold out really fast, and it's gonna keep selling. It's gonna totally keep selling because I've been telling people it's great. You're gonna like it if you really liked Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade. You will thoroughly enjoy Guild Wars. It really caters to the classic MMO people, and the leveling system doesn't really get stale. I think I'm only level 50. I'm not that hardcore into it yet. I really do want to keep playing it though. I think I have a ranger, so
cool.
I really like it.
Yeah, as somebody mentioned earlier in a call, they said the leveling system is a little bit different. I found it to be pretty quick. The levels really didn't feel longer than other ones, especially if you took a break to go craft, or if you decided to do more story missions than the actual heart missions, or you just wanted to explore, go get the full map exploration XP bonus. Or not full map, but the full area XP bonus.
That's one thing. This game is horrible for people who have OCD.
oh yeah, completionists are gonna lose their jobs, man.
You're gonna go to a map and you're like, I can't just walk through this map. I have to do everything.
Yeah.
I have to.
I did that until the island of Ore, and at that time I was like, I'm just going straight to the missions, man. Straight to the missions. I'll do that stuff later.
I can't do it, man. I have to complete everything. It's just, it just bothers me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does have kind of something for everybody, though. Like I said previously, you can just PvP straight world versus world versus world and level up that way.
I haven't tried the PvP yet at all.
It's fun depending on how your server's doing. If your server's getting destroyed, then it's gonna be not very fun being spawn camped all the time, and you still have to pay your repair bill for dying in world versus world versus world. Now the regular PvP or the structured PvP, It's different gear. You're level 80. You have different traits that you can research or stack up. Well, you have the same traits as PvE, but it's like a different character. So I mean, it's your character, but you switch in and out. Like your PvP stuff's PvP.
I did
PvE,
like
PvE.
1 or 2 matches on the beta, so I understand like how the PvP works. But I'm excited to try it as a ranger. I did warrior on the beta, but what was I going to say now? I completely lost what I was going to say. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. But it's been pretty hectic at all the different electronics boutiques and whatnot up there in Canada.
Just everywhere, man. Everywhere it's sold out. I don't know what to tell people other than when it comes in, buy it. You'll like it.
Well, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for PC gaming. It's a good thing for the MMO world because it's, my opinion, was starting to get stale. And The Secret World only sold 200,000 copies. Star Wars The Old Republic is going free. So companies are starting to stay away from MMOs. They've decided, wait a second, people are starting to get away from this trend. But Guild Wars 2, I feel, is doing it right, business-wise. You know, microtransactions. Stuff
I really think they're setting the bar for MMOs at this point. Like, it's really good. I hope, you know, as old as World of Warcraft is, I'd like to see them change based on Guild Wars' success. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see competition because it's what makes both games kind of flourish, right? To actually have the competition there to push the competitor to do more.
Yep. That's the strength of competition. You get the best out of both. It's true. All right, man. Well, thanks for calling in. And
anytime.
Hopefully more people will get copies of the game.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Clutch.
All
Take
right,
care.
See ya. All right, guys. I'll take a couple more calls here. Appreciate all the calls so far tonight. Want to remind everybody that the episodes are posted on my YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/8clutch. And I did post the original video of the PvE system. I also posted what I think is to be the final boss of the mission system. And I'll post a couple more videos about crafting and about leveling. Real simple guides for people to check out. Let's see here. I know a couple more people wanted to call in. Why don't you show history, Skype? Oh, man. DJ beat ZZZ. Expecting Star Wars Galaxies just make me so angry. I loved Star Wars Galaxies. It was a lot of fun. Alex, you're on Shifting Gears. Hello.
Hey, Clutch. I just want to see what your thoughts on getting, like, developing raid content for the game was. Because, like, I don't know, not in the dungeons, but, like, in some of the story quests and stuff. I've seen, like, some cool sort of, like, things that were in the game. Like, if you did the Eye of Zaitan, that part, just, like, mechanics of it.
Uh-huh. That's like the final mission of the single player, right? More or less?
Yeah, close to it.
I'm stuck on that one, man. I didn't know you had to get a freaking raid for that. Like, I just tried to do it solo.
It's only single player, but, like...
Yeah.
It just moved the eye, and, I don't know. Have you done any of the dragons in the world?
No, I haven't. I've done some of the events. I've taken a lot of people, but no, I haven't done any big monster types yet.
The dragons are really cool.
Yeah.
In Sprite Den, and there's a Shatterer. But, I mean...
Now, how many people do you need in those raids? Do you have to actually be grouped up, or you just physically go to the location, like the events, where everybody's there, and whoever's there for a little bit amount of time does damage gets credit for it?
It's just like any dynamic event. Like, you don't have to be grouped, but there's like 20 or 30 people for it, and at the end you get like a chest for it.
Okay. I've seen people in chat talk like, the dragons spawn, man! And I'm like, I gotta kill these people in the water to get this event done. Like, I don't want to leave because I need the XP. So I haven't seen him yet. I look forward to checking that stuff out. That's why you have guildmates really to check it out. But no, unfortunately, I haven't seen that much stuff. How many dragons are there, do you know?
I think there's 3.
3 dragons? Okay. Does that include Zaitan?
No.
Oh, right.
Zaitan's another. There's 3 in the world.
There's this one thing I feel like I don't really know what's going on in the story with these dragons. Like, usually dragons are good, and then Skyrim, they're bad. Peach Dragon, they're good. He sings. Like, I love that movie. So I don't know where the dragons fit at first in the story, and then all of a sudden they talk about how the dragons are evil and like to destroy stuff, and there's one named Zaitan, and he's creating the undead. And
yeah, I have no idea.
I have no idea. And then now you can kill in the world. So
I guess the one dragon, the ice dragon Jormag, he's like all at war with the Norms. I don't really know why.
That's what that lady's... Okay, because one of the Norns said, like, you inspire us to take down Jormag. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So now I know. Now I know. All right, man. Well, hopefully I'll check some more of that stuff out later on. But after hitting 80 and trying to kill that eye, which looks like I'm going to have to get a group to do, I'm going to try to really get into the PvP. But, hey, don't want to forsake the PvE even though I'm level 80, right?
Right. I was just thinking about like what other cool mechanics they could add, like a fight where have the Elementalist has a elite skill to drop a sword and you get a new weapon. Mm-hmm. So like if there was a fight where you had to pick up certain weapons in order to deal damage to them,
it'd be kind of cool.
And I was thinking about what the number is of a raid. Like in WoW, you have the 10%, 25%, but with the whole dodge mechanic and how there's not really any rolls, I was thinking like 15 would be a good amount.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's 5 for the dungeons, and that's even a little bit confusing because there's not really any rolls. It's just all tank and spank or destroy. And I can't take that much damage as a necromancer. I go down pretty fast. So, I don't know. We'll see how that develops. But I just try to get the dungeons done first, too, man. We'll see. But boss mechanics was one thing that World of Warcraft wanted to do to keep things fresh, even though sometimes it felt too gimmicky. But we'll see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alex, so thanks for your call.
Yep, thank you.
All right, guys, got time for one more caller. Or if you have any questions in chat you'd like me to answer, go ahead. It's good questions tonight. Guild Wars 2, I think, will be here for a while, especially with the amount of copies that are selling and the demand online. It's a really good thing to see. And with the microtransactions that happens, it's not just going to be a peak in sales and money one time, then it's just going to fall flat. It's actually going to kind of either rise or stay steady. And that's what you need as a developing company. You can't just sell a game and then create another one. You want to have some sort of continual residual income, which developers need. Here. Bum, bum, bum. All right, looks like that's all the callers for tonight, but appreciate everybody watching and telling their friends and telling the Guild Wars 2 community that this was happening. And like I've said before, since this is such an immense game, PvP is going to be next week. And appreciate you guys' comments and questions. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Clutch08, where you can see what I'm doing with my life, which is trying to put it together and make something of myself. So it's always important. But also any news coming in the world of esports, particularly StarCraft 2, make sure to check that stuff out as well. Blizzard's doing some great things this year. We saw a great event for the Dota 2 International. Riot and their Season 3 is coming up. So esports, I believe, is here to stay. And I feel there's room for Guild Wars 2, which is what we're going to be talking about next week. Until then, have a great night and good game.